This ain't advice. I'm not your advisor. And as they say in the biz, slap that subscribe button. We're only about 100,000 away from 1,000,000. We're almost there. Welcome back. Let's get into some questions. Saving strategies for high income earners. You've been blessed to be in a strong financial situation, but you're unsure how to optimize your savings for financial goals. You would appreciate advice. You save about $7,000 a month. That's a lot, but you don't know how to best allocate that. In particular, you don't know if you should be maxing out your retirement savings, given that you want to buy a $1 million house. Very tricky, very tricky. Some background. You're in your 30s, you make about $235 per year at a tech job in the Bay. You have a solid career outlook for the next few years. You don't want to assume you're making this much money forever. Okay. The current savings balances. 135 in a brokerage, 45 in a Roth, 22 in a Roth, 15 in traditional, 3 in traditional. Man, I think I'd be putting more in traditional if I had that high of a salary in California. You've been saving $7,000 a month. And what do you have total? Like 20 or 200,000? A little more than 200,000? And you're in your 30s? Did you just career switch? I don't know. The numbers don't quite add up. Or you haven't been saving $7,000 a month for very long. But you're doing a good job. You're definitely ahead of the curve. So if you've got $7,000 a month, take one of those months and, okay, so it's going to get tricky. First, I would roll, we weren't showing it. I would roll this traditional IRA into your 401k, assuming that it's a good 401k plan. Then I would make a backdoor Roth IRA contribution with $6,000, so a little less than 1 month of the savings. Then I would max out traditional 401k. That's going to be $19,000. So it's going to be, another 3 months of your savings. I'll do that. And then for the rest, I would not, since you want to buy a house, do the mega backdoor Roth. To me, that would be basically the decider, is the fact that you want to buy a house. Now, whether you should or not, while you're single and dumping that much money into a piece of property, $1 million house doesn't go that far in the Bay Area. I know, that's where I am. I'd slow your roll on that. But if that's the goal, then I'd say keep building it up in the brokerage. Put the rest in the brokerage. Backdoor Roth IRA or backdoor mega Roth for the 401k is interesting in theory, but most people don't want to be tying up that much money. So that's what I would do. I'd keep bulking it up. If you even want to buy a $1 million house, and let's pretend it ends up at like 1.2, 1.3, you're going to need $250,000 down. You're probably going to want to have 50 or 100 set aside for anything you need to do to the place. And then get ready, because it's going to be much more expensive than what you're paying right now, especially if you're saving that much. Your rent can't be that high. And there's going to be property taxes, there's going to be expenses, there's going to be upkeep. So that's the way I would handle it, but could work. It's a lot to be saving. 30% rent guideline. Quick question you've never been clear on. People say not to spend more than 30% of your salary on rent. Does that mean gross or take home? Great question. And nobody knows the answer because those rules of thumb don't mean anything. I think the only obvious answer is that it means take home, because usually when they're talking about rules of thumb, they don't talk about taxes, but it differs so much state to state, city to city. 30% either way is probably fine. Obviously, if you're doing 30% gross, not 30% take home, then you have less for the rest of the things you want to do. But it doesn't matter. Pick whichever one you like. If you have to spend 30% gross, or you want to spend 30% gross where you are, just realize the trade-offs. It'll be okay. You're not like going way outside of any rule of thumb. But good question, and it sort of drives me nuts that rules of thumb don't specify that kind of stuff either. Question about cost basis total infidelity. You are a newbie in personal finance. You have a stupid question. You bought a $1,000 S&P 500 index fund in your individual account. So the cost basis is $1,008.48. You only transferred $1,000 into the account. Why? I got that fund eventually if I only... Okay, I don't quite understand the end, but I think I understand the question anyway. So there are two possibilities, although if you only put $1,000 in, I really only see one. If you really only put $1,000 in the account, in that case, there must have been some realized gains. Either there can be sometimes capital gains distributions or more commonly dividend distributions. And if those were automatically reinvested, then they'd be added to your cost basis because you would pay taxes on them. You'd get a 1099 and that'd be part of the cost basis after you paid the taxes. The other way is if you paid a transaction fee. So let's say you bought $1,000, but the transaction fee was $8.48 on the trade, then that actually gets added to your cost basis. But that wouldn't happen if you only put in $1,000. So that's probably not it. It's probably the former, but that's the reason why.